video.
Hi everyone, Raygun here. I just want to start by thanking all the people who have supported me. I really appreciate the positivity and I'm glad I was able to bring some joy into your lives. That's what I hoped. I didn't realize that would also open the door to so much hate, which has frankly been pretty devastating. But I went out there and I had fun. I did take it very seriously. I worked my butt off preparing for the Olympics and I gave my all, truly. I'm honoured to have been a part of the Australian Olympic team and to be part of Breaking's Olympic debut. What the other athletes have achieved has just been phenomenal.
It might be the first and last time.
In regards to the allegations and misinformation floating around, I'd like to ask everyone to please refer to the recent statement made by the AOC, as well as the posts on the Breaking Instagram page, as well as the WDSF Breaking for Gold page. Bit of a fun fact for you. There are actually no points in breaking. If you want to see how the judges thought I compared to my opponents, you can actually see the comparison percentages across the 5 criteria on Olympics.com. All the results are there.
Listen to this part.
I'm going to be in Europe for a few weeks for some pre-planned downtime, but I'd really like to ask the press please stop harassing
stop asking questions.
My family, my friends,
me,
the Australian breaking community,
don't ask
and
anybody.
The broader street dance community.
And the broader
everyone has been through a lot.
Oh, they've been through a lot.
As a result of this, so I ask you to please respect their privacy. I'll be happy to answer more questions on my return to Australia. Thanks, everyone.
Just appreciate actually that last request there. I'd like to ask you to not ask anybody questions, not my family, not my friends, not me, not the Australian Olympic Committee or the Australian Olympic Committee. Oh, AOC. Oh, geez, I thought AOC was diving into defending breakdancers. I'm joking, I didn't. It's the same acronym. I don't want you to ask journalists. Stop harassing, because when you ask questions that we don't want to answer, that is called harassment, eh? Don't ask my parents, friends, family, Australian Olympic Olympic Committee, the breakdancing community at large. Don't ask many questions as to what the hell you all just witnessed at the international scale. Now, everybody, there are serious things to talk about in life, and every now and again, there are less serious things, and we need to cleanse the palate from the serious with the less serious, which is why we're starting with this tonight. Her name is Raygun, or at least her dance name is Raygun. And there was controversy. I'm not playing the breakdancing video clips because apparently what the Olympic Committee does when they don't want people covering news-worthy events, they go and issue abusive copyright claims on anybody rebroadcasting, even for the purposes of news and commentary, that monstrosity of a breakdance routine that we all saw, that we all thought was a joke. Like I thought it was a skit when I saw it on Twitter. So I'm not playing the breakdancing thing, but you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, go look at it, because it's the best part was when she did the Australian this thing. And for anybody who listens to Lonely Island, you know, there's a song called The Creep. But let your hands flop around like a marionette and do the creep, ha, and do the creep, ha. And that's what it looked like. It looked like she was imitating a T-Rex, not a flipping kangaroo. So the performance generated some outrage, or at least some public interest. People started going a little nuts, and the world started looking into it. It's an amazing thing. I kind of do feel bad for her, because I don't think anybody expected this level of public scrutiny or public mockery. But my goodness, when you are at the pinnacle of athletic performance, athletic perfection, the Olympics, and you get out and you do something so bad, it's not like Cool Runnings where you're like, oh, how did a Jamaican team that never did luge make it there? And, oh, they made it there. Well, they don't have snow in Jamaica, so we can understand how they're that bad. It's not that the performance was that bad in the context of the talent pool coming out of Australia. The issue was, how was that the best that Australia has to offer for breakdancing? And if you thought maybe because she lacked in experience, she made up with education. So there's a number of things here you gotta actually appreciate. Raygun has a PhD in breakdancing. Oi, where is it? It's right here. Check it out. First of all, Snopes is going to have to go correct themselves. Olympic breakdancing Raygun has PhD in breakdancing. Rachel Gunn earned 0 in breakdancing at the Olympic Games. Well, Snopes, you want to stop it with the harassment? We just heard Raygun say they don't actually offer points. It's comparative and it involves artistic creativity. So Snopes is spreading disinformation and misinformation here by mocking Raygun for having allegedly gotten 0 points. She's got a PhD in breakdancing. I say this without judgment, although there's a little bit of judgment in it. Learning anything is good. The history of breakdancing, I am very certain it's phenomenally interesting. Learning the styles and the tactics and the skills and which muscles are triggered, because it's like you got cardio, you got a fast muscle reflex, you got thinking man. Okay, I'm sorry, that's not isolation. Oh, okay, that was the statement, I guess, that they were the statement here. Rachel Raygun, Australia breakdancer who competed in the 2024 Paris Olympics, has a PhD in breakdancing mixture. Let's hear this. What's true? Gunn's PhD thesis titled Deterritorial. This all just got a lot worse, people. Deterritorializing gender in Sydney's breakdancing scene, a B-girl's experience of B-boying, did cover the topic of breakdancing. However, what's false, Gunn earned her PhD in cultural studies. Moreover, a PhD in breakdancing does not exist as an academic discipline. You know, the funny thing is, I was going to say, wow, we just found a PhD that's actually more useless than a PhD in gender studies or a PhD in cultural studies. I say this as someone who has an honors degree in philosophy. So it's false. She has a degree in, or she wrote her thesis on deterritorializing gender in Sydney's breakdancing scene, a B-girl's experience of B-boying. Wow. And I also say this as well. Here you go. You see, I'm not even playing it. I'm not even playing it. Go, here you go. You got the whole story, and it's amazing. But now we've heard from Raygun herself. Don't ask any questions as to how I got there, because I don't want to answer them. And the problem is, however, it seems that she might not have gotten there through what are typically referred to as totally kosher means. Where is the breakdancing analysis of this? Aussie breakdance. I think this is it right here. Let me see something here. Yeah, so this is the oh, that's not it. There was a whole thread where the breakdancing person right there, that's not it, has been accused of rigging the primary, the talent tryouts to see who from Australia gets to go to the Olympics, and accused of rigging it, which would explain how what some might feel to be not the most talented of breakdancers made it to the end. Let me see if I can not find this thread. It's a long thread. Okay, we got Raygun Kicks. So it was in this thread here. Kicks did the breakdown. Whatever. That's the allegation is that she might have had an involvement in rigging the process, which resulted in her being there. But the disinformation, misinformation, catch-all, harassment. Don't ask any questions. It's harassing. And that's it. I think it made a joke out of it. Tim Pool had an interesting theory that it was a deliberate sabotage because real breakdancers don't want to see breakdancing in the Olympics. But on the lighter side of things, that's that. I wrote an essay at McGill University that was entitled "Everything I Learned in Life, I Learned from The Simpsons," or it was a Simpsons Guide to the History of America, something along those lines. And I talked about famous scenes or awesome scenes from The Simpsons that actually taught you meaningful lessons about American history. I think I did well on that. The teacher subsequently became relatively controversial, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. All right, peeps. Good afternoon. How goes the battle? Another day in the world on fire. And as the world burns, you must not forget to take care of yourself. This is the thing. You have an obligation to treat your body like a temple. And I say that as someone who may or may not have treated his body as less than a temple from time to time. Your body's a temple. You're made in the image of God. And no matter what happens to the world, you have an obligation to yourself, your loved ones, your family to stay healthy, stay fit, and be able to take care of yourself and your loved ones, especially the ones who rely on you on a daily basis. And the easiest way to do that is by taking care of your health and by eating healthy and getting your fruits and veggies in. And on the issue of Olympics, most of us are not trying to become Olympians, but but who doesn't want to feel strong, healthy, and at the end of the day, have energy left in the tank? That's not happening without good nutrition. That's why I take Field of Greens. You're supposed to have between 5 and 7 servings of raw fruits and vegetables a day, and most people do not have those. And even if you do have those, 1 spoonful twice a day of Field of Greens. It's whole organic fruits and vegetables, no extracts, no lab-made stuff. Just 1 scoop gives you real, simple nutrition. Field of Greens feeds your body with fruits and vegetables, medically chosen to support your heart, vital organs, immune system. It gives you steady energy throughout the day, no afternoon crashes, better sleep, and better gut stuff going on in your belly. Swap out negative habits and bad habits for good habits. Don't have a disgusting sucralose-laden diet. Drink whatever the hell in the afternoon. A spoonful morning and afternoon. And even if you get all your fruits and veggies, you'll get 2 more servings, all of the antioxidant, wonderful stuff that desiccated greens has to offer. Field of Greens is my go-to for my nutrients, even on the bad eating days, and I don't have very many of them. Go to fieldofgreens.com. It brings you to Brickhouse Nutrition. You'll get 15% off your first order and free shipping if you use promo code VIVA. Fieldofgreens.com, promo code VIVA. Fieldofgreens.com, promo code VIVA. Thank you, guys. It's delicious. It's wonderful. Stay healthy and be healthy. All right. Oh, my goodness. What was I going to segue in from there? Are we live across all of the various platforms of the interwebs? We are. Let me see that I'm not falling too far behind here. Where is the fire says nothing, but where is the fire donated? What are we going to talk about today? First of all, everybody, if you're new to the channel, I don't think many people are new to the channel. I'm sticking to my time slot. I have committed to it, and I'm a stubborn bastard. When I make a decision, I'm doing it. Hell or high water. 12:30 daily on Rumble, Viva Frei Live. I'm going to do as many of the car vlogs as I can. This afternoon, I'm going to do a car vlog on that Disney arbitration ruling, which we're going to talk about today. And the entire stream after we stop on YouTube to go over to Rumble and vivabarneslaw.locals.com is up on Viva Clips on CommieTube. Let me see here. She should start a dance school, Breaking Bad. That is from Prepared Citizen from our vivabarneslaw.locals.com community. All right. What are we talking about today? Commie Kamala, commie policies. We're going to talk about the arbitration thing in Disney. It's horrible. We're going to talk about the predictions as to what's going to happen in Trump sentencing by Judge Marchand in September, and this wonderful conspiracy. It is a real conspiracy. That is to say, a plan, a plot involving 2 or more people, as far as I'm concerned, to interfere with the elections, because they're all going to loop together. Kamala's horrible commie policy, the fake people on the internet or real people who are bot accounts pushing commie policy as though it's the greatest thing since breadlines, to quote Bernie Sanders. And then you look into who's doing it, and then you trace it all back to Judge Marchand. And how do we get there? Don't worry, we're going to get there. Let's see. So for those of you who I have the Washington Post. I have the Washington Post. But let's just start with this. You had Stephen King the other day. I mean, unironically posting this picture. I feel bad for the guy. I mean, he genuinely looks like, I don't know, it's like you get older, your brain deteriorates and it turns into mush. And then apparently as you get older and your brain turns into mush, you end up celebrating the fact that an itch-bay is telling you to shut up and sit down, like a subservient, self-hating, self-loathing person. That's pretty much what Stephen King and many Democrats are. He posts this picture. It's the Obama high contrast black, red, blue image. And it says, "I'm speaking." Now, he's wearing this unironically. He's not wearing this to make fun of her. Because if you had this shirt on, let's just say a James Woods, you would assume that he was actually making fun of Kamala. Look, this is the so-called leader of the so-called Democrat Party telling protesters and her constituents to shut up, sit down, I'm speaking. But I contrasted it just like, oh my goodness, that's funny. He's playing off the Obama thing. And you go back to Obama. And you remember these images? We all remember them. Hope and change. I mean, it turned into hope for change, as in money. But he had change, that contrast there. Then he had the beautiful one, hope. Oh, remember when they gave him a Nobel Peace Prize? It went from hope and change to literally shut the hell up and sit down. I'm speaking. And that I think is a perfect embodiment of what the Democrat Party has become, because you can't win in the exchange of ideas. You can only win by shutting down, shutting up, and censoring, which is exactly what the Democrat Party pretty much is all about. MSM, Democrat-run Google, Gulag, YouTube, and the like. I just thought it was an amazing thing where the transition has been, well, shut up, I'm speaking. And by the way, don't disagree with my ideas, because if you do, you're just a greedy bastard capitalist. Kamala, even according to the Washington Post, hasn't put out very many policies. I'm sure you know this. She's been accused, actually, of not having any policies whatsoever, except for the ones that she stole from Donald Trump. Who was it that said, it was a CNN. It was a CNN video that I played the other day where they say, she's had surprisingly few ideas, and we need to get to the bottom of whether or not Kamala actually stole Trump's no tax on tips policy, because we know she's been saying it, but we know that Trump's been saying it for a couple of months now. So did she just spontaneously think about it? Was it something her and Joe were talking about? Spoiler alert, it wasn't. It was under her regime with Joe Biden that they actually empowered the IRS to go after taxing tips, and actually implemented a voluntary software that you could download to more accurately pay taxes on your tips. Set that aside. Even CBC, or whatever the hell the three-letter agency Mockingbird Media was saying, yes, she's had surprisingly few ideas. And the jokes of the internet, which I only saw this morning, is that she's got more ideas. She's got fewer ideas than gender pronouns on her freaking website. I think it was Blair White that said that one, or I forget who might have said that one. So I'm listening to Bourbon with Barnes, as I typically do when I jog in the morning, catch up on the wisdom from the night before. And Barnes starts talking about, I don't know why he went. I mean, I guess he saw some tweets and he's like, yeah, you go apply for a job in the Kamala regime. This is, I screenshotted this just to make sure that it was true, because I trust Barnes, but I'm still going to verify Barnes, especially when I think impossible. I'm listening to Barnes while I'm jogging, and he says, yeah, you go to her campaign website and apply for a job. They've got 9 pronouns that you can choose to identify when you submit your CV. Listen to this. It's not a joke. And then the joke became, she's got more choices for pronouns on her website than she has policies as VP presidential candidate. I gotta pick people's brains here. Okay, fine. He, him, we understand. That's if you're born with XY chromosomes typically, or a penis, because you might have XX chromosomes internally, but external male. Okay, I'm sort of joking, talking about that French thing, the French debacle. He, him, we understand. She, her, we understand. They, them, I've taken issue with this. Okay, that's someone who says, I'm neither he nor she, I'm plural. I'm joking. They don't say I'm plural. They say I'm neither he nor she. So just, gender neutral, they. It becomes a real big problem when you're describing a so-called self-identifying they, them who's committed a crime, and you're saying they picked up the gun, and you're like, are there more than one person that did this? This is abuse. Anybody saying refer to me as they, them when you're talking about me to other people, it's psychological abuse. It's an act of dominance. It's an act of psychological violence. And it's also grammatically unsustainable, unjustifiable, and preposterous. They, them. They robbed the bank. How many were there? 1. Sorry, what? They, them. Okay. Z, them. I don't know if this is like, I don't know if this is supposed to be Chinese, and I'm not saying that as a joke. Like, they make the joke. President Xi identifies as she. I don't know if this is actually serious or they're intending to mock, and they're just seeing how far they can get away with it. Holy crap, guys. Like at the latest 2S LGBTQIA plus community meeting, they're like, guys, they actually took the ZZM. They don't realize we're actually making fun of 1.6 billion people. They bought it. XE/XEM. Now, thus far, by the way, we're noticing it's sort of the he, him. I forget how you distinguish that. ZZM. Okay. Then you got Z, her. Okay. So you got XE, which I presume is pronounced Z, but it might be she. which would be really confusing if you want to confuse it with she, or it's Z, in which case it's very confusing when you compare it to Z, her, which is very confusing when you have she, her. How the hell do you know if they spell the her with an H-I-R or an H-E-R? And what the hell is the difference between the Z, her and the her versus the she, her? This is, I'm taking crazy pills. This is absolute insanity. Sorry, I'm shouting. A-M, that's the Irish one. Aye, I-M, game out, eh? Here, fay, fair, who. What the hell is the point of having two of the same words, who? I mean, this is not a joke because it's actually not funny. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for institutionalized mental illness, and there's no other way around it. But she's got more pronoun options on her website than presidential proposed policy. It's a mind fight. No, but it's actually what it is. It's like it's pushing the limits of how far you can push polite people to go. I mean, it. Okay, so I just had to highlight that anyhow. So Barnes talked about it. It's like it's not possible. And then I went and I looked, and it is possible. And it seems that the internet had discovered this yesterday. And I'm late to the party, but holy crab apples, better late than never. So those are not policies. Those are options for gender preferences when you submit an application. And something tells me, if I had to take a guess, you check the he/him box, you go straight to the trash bin. Something tells me that, because you don't need to have a guy who identifies as he/him to have a guy who identifies as Z/zer and steals people's luggage. I'm talking about that guy who actually worked for the Biden campaign. I don't remember what his name was, what Z/zer's name was. But let's just get to the actual policy. She's a commie, copycat, cackling Kamala, coming out with commie policy. When I am president, when I have an elected role in office, this is the first thing I'm going to do when I'm in office. I'm going to solve all of the problems of the last administration. You elect me to office, I promise you, I will solve the problems of the last administration. Oops, what's that? I'm not really vice president right now. When I am president, it will be a day one priority to bring down prices. I'll take on big corporations that engage in illegal price gouging and corporate landlords that unfairly raise rents on working families. I mean, I don't even understand this. Are you not going to raise rents? Are you not going to oppose corporate landlord? First of all, what the hell is a corporate landlord? Like, is that a landlord who doesn't work for the state? Like, okay, just break it down. What's a corporate landlord? If I were to own a property as an individual, would I be a corporate landlord? Or do I have to work for a corporation in order to be a corporate landlord? Or is a corporate landlord anybody who does not work for the state? So you're going to go after, it sounds to me like private ownership for rental that unfairly raise rent on working families. Does that mean that I mean, what's the exclusion there? Are you not going to go after them if they unfairly raise rent on people who are not working families? I don't understand it. Bottom line, price control, a pure communist principle. But the beauty of it, and it's like, this is why I feel like I'm not chasing windmills, because these things actually exist. I feel like I'm not like I'm screaming at clouds. I feel like I'm just taking crazy pills, because you get her saying this on the one hand, while Joe Biden is simultaneously stumping about how he beat Big Pharma. Kamala's also going to go after, drug prices, took down inflation, and yet Kamala's got to impose price controls to bring down inflation. I mean, and she's going to solve all of the problems that have arisen under her tenure as vice president and under the regime that she's currently a part of. And it's so bad that even the Washington Post is calling her out on it. And it's an amazing thing. You've seen the headline. Let me pull it up. The Washington Post says, when you're being accused of being a commie, it's a really bad idea to implement commie policies. Yeah, just check this out. It's like occasionally, a broken clock is right twice a day unless the clock puts on a minute, in which case it's going to be right much less often than that. Washington Post opinion: when your opponent calls you a communist, maybe don't propose price controls. To which I retorted, but what if she's actually a communist? I mean, what if she's telling you that she's a communist and you're pretending that she's not telling you she's a communist? You give it a nice name, equity. So one man's socialism, to quote Tim No Balls Walls, is another man's good neighbor. Yeah, they're one man's socialism is another's good neighbor until that neighbor likes what the other neighbor has more than what they have. So she's telling you she's a communist. She's now campaigning on implementing commie policies, price control on food. I won't go into the academics or the economics on why it has never worked. But if you limit the profits unfairly, if you don't let the market decide and you go in and limit cap prices, but you don't actually even address the underlying cost increases, which is what they are also proposing, you're going to get less people producing because corporations are not charities. They shouldn't illegally price gouge, but you shouldn't look at them like they are charities unless you are a commie who works for the state and thinks that they are entities that should belong to or be run by the state. And in which case you have the state taking over private manufacture, private corporations' production of food, and messing everything up much in the same way Stalin did back during the Great Famine. The government doesn't do things better than private enterprise. And when you talk about capping prices on food, you're not going to get people to work harder to sell more to make less. They're just going to make less. And the demand is not going to go down. The supply is going to go down. And that's how communism leads to famine. Oh, and then rent control on properties. What she's talking about, understand it, by the way. Government's going to build properties, or at least nationalize properties, limit rent, and we're going to nationalize private ownership. And to pretend that the issue about home ownership is actually a result of supply, or supply and not interest rates. I mean, it's just these are like academic mistakes that she's making, but they sound good to people, to the have-nots. Yeah. What happened? Well, this is Bill Mitchell. Let me see who Bill Mitchell is. I know that I see him quite often. CEO of Your Voice Studios, host Your Voice America. I'm endorsing Trump because we must beat Commie Kamala at all costs. I did not know that he called her Commie Kamala. He spells it with a K. I have to go with the C because I don't want to be accused of any 3K alliterations. Gee, what happened the last time the government got involved with everyone buying a home? Do you remember what happened? It's like, this is the other thing. Commie Kamala's base is so young and so ignorant, they don't remember the 2008 housing crash. Why did it happen? Well, because the government basically said everybody gets a home. Whether you can afford it or not, you get a home. And then what ended up happening? People couldn't afford it. Oh my goodness, the subprime mortgage, whatever, a little more complicated. But they come out and pretend that the issue as to what's going on with the housing crisis is supply. And let's just even assume that that's the case. The problem is, if there is a supply problem, that there's not enough to meet the demand, or there's not enough to meet the amount of people, they are simultaneous. It's not that, by the way, it's not that. But let's just operate on their own premises, which is the easiest way of devastating someone's argument. Okay, Kamala, you say the problem is that there's not enough houses in America to meet those who want houses. So if we build more houses, we'll be able to meet that demand. All right. If the issue is that there's not enough houses, why the hell are you letting in 15 million illegal immigrants? Do you think that that's going to exacerbate the problem if the problem, according to you, is lack of supply? The answer is yes, obviously. So they say, okay, the problem is that there's not enough, and yet we are exacerbating that problem through a porous southern border, 15 at least million illegal immigrants coming in. Now they're saying, well, we don't have enough homes for Americans, so we're going to order that millions of houses be built. Who's going to build them? We're going to give incentives for them. Oh, what happens when you give private corporations incentives to build things? It jacks up the price of the product. The incentives for electric vehicles didn't bring down the prices of the vehicles. So even on their own logic, it's idiotic, it's stupid. And they're exacerbating the problem that they think they've identified, even though it's flawed. The issue is not a supply problem. The issue is interest rates, and the issue is income. People are not making enough money, and they can't borrow money because interest rates are at a 22-year high. Why? Partly because people printed a ton of money, and partly because of inflation. That's also being caused by this corrupt regime. But she promises on day one she's going to solve inflation that they've caused. They're going to build houses by effectively nationalizing houses. They're going to put price caps on products. And how did that work out during Mao's revolution? How did that work out during Stalin? It doesn't work out. It never works out. But it sounds so good to the have-nots when you promise them, vote for my utopia, and in 10 years you'll have a very grumbling stomach and no home still. We'll get to something in a second here. Let me bring this back here. We got from our community and locals. It says she should start a dance school. Breaking Bad. No, I got that one. Viva, here we go. Pasha Moyer or P. Moyer. Viva, when you mentioned something about a car vlog later today, I thought for just a second that you were going to do a Jay Leno analysis of automobiles. Then, as they say, I woke up. I'm not doing, no, I don't know anything about vehicles. Ganthet says, your transformation is complete, former Canadian. Viva, once a mild-mannered, polite, non-cussing Canadian, has now been corrupted by American, and become a wild Florida man fighting gators. Have a beer on me. I should probably swear less. I was doing the Unusual Suspects on Wednesday, and Vinny was saying, I'm not getting baptized anytime soon, people, so don't hold your breath for that. But Vinny just got baptized, Vinny Oshana, as did Russell Brandon. It's a beautiful thing to see people coming to religion. Even if I don't share that aspect, I appreciate its value, and we're going to get into that in a second. But Vinny says, I'm trying to be a better Christian. I'm trying to live in the image of Christ, and I need to stop swearing. And as he said it, I kind of immediately felt guilty because I have been swearing maybe a little too much. Sometimes you need to cuss those that need cussing, but also do not let them drag you down, because that is what they try to do. I'm not sure that there's anything wrong with swearing. I'm still battling that, but we'll see. Sammy says, the campaign is assuming people identify their singular pronouns as plural pronouns the same way. How dare they err? I bet they will change it by the end of the month. Laughing my ass off. So they're idiots. It's like, we've met here. Listen to this. It's going to be amazing. This is Mike Nellis. Now, I'm not going to show you who Mike Nellis is just yet, because this is going to segue into part 2 here. Just read Kamala Harris's housing plan. It's excellent and really simple too. This is like it's written by an AI tard, is what it's written. It's like, hey, I just read the plan. It is excellent and really simple too. Democrats usually hurt themselves with complicated plans that are hard to explain. This is good and easy. It's an easy sell. You know what else is an easy sell? Snake oil. You know what else is an easy sell? Counterfeits. You know what else is an easy sell? Lies. Utopias. Thank you. Oh, it's an easy sell. It's an easy sell, especially when you're dealing with low information, idiot base. Okay, let me know. It's an easy sell. I'm going to build millions of new housing units. I'm going to take on corporate landlords. I'm going to give you $25,000 to buy your house. That'll work. That'll work if you are a camel tard. That's it. Hold on. Camel tard. That will work. Hey, I'm going to build millions of houses. Who's going to build them? Who's going to pay for them? Where are they going to go? Just 3 minor questions that come with the first one. Who's going to pay for them? Well, corporations are going to pay for them. All right, who's going to buy them? Well, people are going to buy them. Well, they can't borrow money. Well, we're going to give them $25,000. Where are you going to get that $25,000 from? Either print it or tax it. So we're going to, and what's that $25,000 that everyone now is just going to be, here's $25,000. Awesome. The house costs $25,000 more now. So we're going to build millions of housing units. Okay. That sounds kind of like, it actually sounds like housing units sounds like INGSOC for ghettos, like camps, government housing. That's what it sounds like. We will build the housing units. We will take on corporate landlords by nationalizing property and making it ours. You will pay the government rent, but the government will give you $25,000 for your first house. Interest rates will still be 7% because we have not solved the underlying price problem, but that is it. Print, nationalize, and usurp by the state. Here, let's just go into this. Vice President Harris, yada, yada. Calling for the construction of 3 million new homes. That's it. The government says, hey, private enterprise, forget whether or not people will be able to buy it. Forget the loans that you'll need to get to break ground. Build houses. Build millions of 3 million houses. Lower the rent for hardworking Americans by taking on corporate and major. What the hell? I got to read it. I got to see what this is. In addition to ongoing efforts by Vice President Harris and President Biden to expand rental assistance for hard-pressed Americans, including for veterans, boosting housing supply for those without homes, enforce. Okay, what the fudge? Here we go. Oh, listen to this. Providing historic $25,000 down payments. Here's your $25,000. Your interest rate is still 7%, though. It's government for idiots, except it's government by idiots. Okay, so that's it's a brilliant plan. Brilliant. Now, why did I say this was going to segue into it? So Kamala is a commie. And if this convinces you, and if this is an easy sell, you might look in the mirror and say, I'm a camel tard. But this dude who's selling it, because it's so easy to sell, especially when you say these things and don't ask any more questions. Mike Nellis. Let's like I went down a rabbit hole. Mike Nellis, former senior advisor to Kamala Harris. Okay. Founder of Authentic HQ. That sounded familiar for some reason. When I go over there, what does it say about Authentic HQ? Oh, digital agency partnering with clients to build award-winning programs for progressive causes and campaigns. Okay, Authentic HQ, that sounded familiar. Oh, White Dudes for Harris, organizer for White Dudes for Harris. That sounded familiar too. Then I was like, wait a minute. Authentic. I'm going to close this. Yeah, Authentic. Authentic sounded very familiar. Authentic, as far as I recalled, wasn't that the company that Judge Juan Marchand, his daughter, worked for? It sounded familiar. And I had to make sure because it was called Authentic HQ, and I don't like making mistakes. Authentic. This is authentic.org, because if you go to, hold on, Authentic, got to show you my homework. Authentic_HQ. I'm going to show you my homework because I don't want to make mistakes. Let me break this out. Okay. So this is how you have to just make sure, double check, triple check, so that you don't. You go here, Authentic HQ. Okay. Authentic HQ brings you to Authentic. What? The tweets are protected? Hey, when were they protected? Maybe I didn't notice when I looked at it this morning. Authentic.org. Okay. So we've done it. We've got the chain of connection here. Authentic_HQ is authentic.org, and we are in authentic.org, and I went to the team. Lauren Marchand, after graduating from college, Lauren originally planned to attend Dartmouth's Cultural Studies. That's another one about as useful as breakdancing. A woman whose father and much of her family immigrated from Colombia. Who's her father? Wait a minute. That's right. Her father's Judge Juan Marchand, who's involved in the New York Trump persecution. Now, people will to steel man it. Okay. The world of politics and PR firms is very small. People know people. That's not proof of corruption or collaboration or conspiracy. It's just a coincidence that the guy who's online right now pushing Kamala Harris policy is a founder of organizer for White Dudes for Harris, founder of Authentic. And in Authentic, what was her position again? Let me see what her position was. Lauren. Oh, president. Just, that minor position within a company whose father is currently, president of Authentic, the company that the people out there now pushing policy for Kamala working with. Judge Marchand, you all know him because we've talked about this at length. This is, it's not coincidence. It's not random. It's not the incestuous milieu of this industry. It's conspiracy and it's corruption, pure and simple. Authentic, the guy who works with Authentic, organizes White Dudes for Harris, pushing Kamala policy, an operative for Kamala online, disclosing it. You just have to connect a few dots to understand that he is an agent for Kamala, founded a company that is raising money for Adam Schiff and other entities off of the prosecution of Trump. And Judge Marchand in September is going to be deciding whether or not to lock up Trump as a result of the 34 felony count conviction that he got out of the corrupt hellhole state of New York. That's amazing. Does anybody else find that amazing? Great way to make houses $25,000 more expensive overnight. No question, no doubt about that. So now, hold on a second, because I don't know if I've lost my mind. Does anybody else find that as outrageous evidence of a disgusting conspiracy where everyone is involved? It's a beautiful orgy. This is an orgy of corruption. Make the PR firm that rakes in the money off the prosecution, where the president of that company's father is spearheading the corruption with the most outlandish, insane rulings. Get online after you've raised a ton of money off the prosecution. Use that money, just leverage it over to push Commie Kamala policy online. Democracy, bitches. That's what it is. It's democracy. And if you are swayed by this, it's a problem. You are an ignorant person, And there, you can be ignorant and not of bad faith, or you can be willfully blind and ignorant of bad faith. If this works on you, you are and must be forced to admit a low information voter who doesn't care about the corruption because you think you're going to get a free home in 10 years, is basically what it is. Oh God. Okay, let me just go to the chat here and see what's going on. And by the way, we're oh, hold on one second. Let me bring this up and see. It caught my eye. I feel like I need to thank this chat for not being misogynists with the way the LawTube Discord is. Just say, like our community chat is, except for the trolls, because the trolls come in to deliberately, ruin things. Our chat is good. Our community is fantastic. I like to say it's the Canadian influence. But this is, I mean, it's wild. You just click. You just start clicking on these dots, and you go, oh, look at that. What looks like a robotic support for terrible communist policies, and then you go all the way down, and lo and behold, it loops right in to Justice Marchand, who in September is going to be doling out a sentence potentially for Donald Trump. All right, which brings us to our next subject of the day. What do I think is going to happen? Did she just take a poop? Okay. What do I think? That was a dog I'm talking about. Hold on a second. Oh, man. What do I think is going to happen in September when Judge Marchand is forced to adjudicate on a sentence, if any, for Donald Trump? I don't know if Andy McCarthy even has seen who I am. I don't think he cares, and I don't expect him to, and I wouldn't be offended if he doesn't, because I appreciate who I am on the grand scale of the world. McCarthy has made a prediction. Andy McCarthy, let's bring it up here. Andy McCarthy, best-selling author, contributing editor at National Review, and fellow at NA Institute, Fox News contributor, former chief assistant U.S. attorney. All right. Excuse me. Andy McCarthy said, oh, no, that was not him. Where is the, come on, man. Did I only tagged him? I didn't get the. Andy McCarthy says he thinks Trump's going to get locked up. He thinks Judge Marchand is going to issue a ruling of jail for Trump. Now, to be determined whether or not it's suspended, whether or not it's, whether or not they avoid sending him straight to jail. The question is, does Trump get sentenced to jail when Marchand issues his ruling on what the sentence should be, if any? Recall now the context for all of this, and I can flesh out my thinking, and my prediction will be out there. I think my prediction is not quite as likely as something of a conviction sentence with a suspended sentence pending appeal, but it's not whether or not the prediction ends up being right. It's whether or not the justification for the prediction is fallacious or ill thought out, and I don't think it is. You will recall back when Marchand delayed the sentencing. It was either, I forget now if it was before or after, or as a result of the Supreme Court ruling, but it's certainly going to be impacted by it, where he delayed the sentencing. I think it was after. Because he has to go reassess what it's going to be after the Supreme Court ruling on immunity. And Judge Marchand had very interesting and specific words. He says, postponing sentencing, if any, to suggest, he might not impose a sentence because the ruling that came down on immunity had a twofold impact on any potential sentence. The ruling came down and said, we all know, it says there's a absolute immunity for absolute presidential acts, a presumptive immunity, and if it's for things on the outer bound, no immunity for purely private acts. But that's an exercise that you have to go through to determine what is absolute presidential, absolute personal, within the outer bounds that requires an analysis. Okay. Some of these cases that Trump is facing have greater ambiguity as to the core charges. Georgia, Florida, and DC. In New York, the hush money case, the question is, does an analysis of the alleged acts or the indicted offenses, does it need to be done? Because recall, every payment that Trump was convicted on was after he became president. Now, some of you are going to say, well, it had nothing to do with him being president because it had to do with hush money payments from before he was president. But you're presupposing the conclusions of an analysis that needs to be done nonetheless under the immunity ruling. Was it a purely personal act? I can understand people saying yes. Was it a presumptively presidential act? I can understand people saying yes. And was it a purely constitutional core duties of the president? I can understand most people saying no. Okay. But the bottom line, that analysis has to occur because temporally, all of the indicted acts or the indictable acts were when he was president. So you don't get to assume anything and then convict and then assume the conviction is still valid. And so there's that. There's above and beyond the immunity issue is the question as to the evidence that was procured. If the evidence that was procured relates to official conduct, it's inadmissible. And that's where there's going to be an issue as well. In the New York case and in a bunch of the other cases, especially the Georgia case, because a lot of the evidence was based on communications between president and chief of staff, which is I would argue is objectively presidential and therefore is inadmissible as evidence, even if you could prosecute for what would be a purely private act or a within the orbit but questionable act. So the question is, what is going to happen in September when this comes back to Justice Marshall? Some people are saying Marshall's hell-bent on imprisonment. He's going to imprison him. He's going to lock him up. It's going to be civil war, yada, yada, yada. I may be wrong, marking it right now, and it's on the interwebs for an eternity regardless. I said, McCarthy, saying he's going to go to jail or he's going to be ordered to be locked up and locked up, not pending despite any appeal, is it's the long shot. If it happens, you'll end up looking smart, but the world's going to burn. So enjoy that bet as the country burns. I don't see how he gets around the Supreme Court ruling, specifically as relates to evidence that was procured in violation of the ruling. I believe I'll read it and I'll flesh it. My prediction is that Marchand will have to set aside the conviction given the Supreme Court ruling on immunity. They would then have to determine admissibility of evidence and determine if presidential immunity applies to any of the allegations charges throughout the hearing. That would require a new trial in due course, which would only come after the issues are decided, certainly after the election. Only a prediction. I reserve the right to be wrong. Bada bing, bada boom. It's out there for the world to see forever now. Can't take it back. And to flesh it out even more, they got what they needed out of that prosecution. They've been running around like a chicken with their head cut off, screaming, felon, felon, felon. They got the convicted felon title. That's what they wanted out of that. They thought it would hurt Trump, and it didn't, so they were wrong. But they got what they wanted, even though what they wanted ended up hurting them. Fine. As Robert Barnes, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, Sunday night shows are kick-ass. As Barnes says, everybody agrees. If they lock him up, it's basically an automatic election unless they do something really stupid, like try to go with a Butler 2.0. So even if they lock him up, it will, even by their own analysis, they're not stupid. It'll hurt their cause, so why would they do it? They got the felon title. It didn't work, but they got it. That's what they wanted. I believe right now Marchand wants to get out of this mess that he's in. I mean, he knows that maybe he doesn't know that he's a laughingstock, but he knows he's in legally tenuous waters with his conduct in that trial, and he wants out. And he wants out in a way that will allow him not to take the blame for it. It'll allow him to wash his hands and say, sorry, I've done all I can do now, but the Supreme Court, my goodness, those extremists, those MAGA extremists came down. They've tied my hands. I'm sorry. I can't do anything now. We got to go back and do all of these steps that the Supreme Court made us do now in cases involving the president. I think it's outrageous. I think it's an injustice. I think it means we have a king and not a president anymore, but my hands are tied. Got to send it back, got to overturn the conviction, and we've got to go through this exercise again. That's what I think is going to happen. And if it does happen, I am going to say that I'm the smartest guy, at least in this room right now. Not including the chat, just my room right here. The joke being I'm the only guy in the room right now. That's what I think. I think he wants out. I think he's looking for a way to get out, and I think he's got his out now to blame extreme MAGA justices on the Supreme Court. They've tied his hands, and hey, if it were up to me, I'd lock the son of a bitch up. Nobody's above the law, but I can't. Can't defy Supreme Court ruling. It's the law of the land now, and that's it. Throw them under the bus while he covers his own ass. That's my thought. Okay, now here, hold on a second. Viva, but why isn't Winston in the room with you? He actually is. And to show you that I'm at least smarter than Winston straight up fell in the pool this morning. I was out there. I don't let him out in the back. He's blind. Winston is blind. But typically, he could still... He just walked right into the pool, and I had to go, and nobody wants to see my foot, but I cut my toe rushing to save my beautiful dog. He can swim, and he would have drowned anyhow, but he's an idiot. So I think I'm still smarter than Winston. Okay. So that's it. And now I hear that dog whining, and I don't know why she's whining. She's probably trying to get some food from my wife. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to take the party on over to Viva Barnes Law. No, we're going to go over to Rumble. But before we do that, actually, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to show you RAC, Rumble Advertising Center. Before we go over to YouTube or vivabarneslaw.locals.com, RAC is revolutionizing. RAC is the Rumble Studio, Rumble Advertising Center. It is going to revolutionize the way independent content creators monetize their content. Don't have to worry about getting sponsors, because what they do is I'm on the beta version. I still get access to it. On the beta version, you get to see campaigns that are live auctioning to do ads during streams. You get to see what the company is, how it works, how much you're going to get paid for it. And as you click on it, you can choose which companies you want to work with, because there's a bunch that I'm looking at here on the side. And you can choose which one you want to work with. And since we're talking about inflation, since we're talking about commie policies and how do you protect your money in times of inflation and commie policies, gold. And check this out here. Birch Gold Group. This is, and it's an amazing thing, like owning a Bitcoin. Imagine holding a Bitcoin. That's not exactly what a gold coin is like, but a 1 pound bar is a Bitcoin in your hand. You hold it, and over the thousands of years of human history, that Bitcoin in your hand would always go up in value. We recently had some monumental news that no one is talking about. For the first time ever, the interest rate the US pays on its debt surpassed every individual budget item except Social Security. Understand what that means, people. The budget is going to pay the interest on the money that they borrowed. It's shocking. It's negligent. It's culpable from the government. That's right. The U.S. now spends more on interest than on national defense or even Medicare. And it's only getting worse as big government continues to spend recklessly. How? $25,000 for a house. That's why savvy Americans are turning to gold, something not tied to the inflation dollar. You too can buy gold with Birch Gold Group. For over 20 years, Birch Gold has helped tens of thousands of Americans protect their retirement savings by converting an IRA into a 401k, by converting an IRA or a 401k into IRA in gold. To learn more, go to birchgold.com/rumble and do it so they know that this translates into actual traffic. I'm gonna destroy that dog one. Do you hear her? I don't know what she's whining about. And get a free no obligation info kit on diversifying your retirement into a gold IRA. Birch Gold has earned an A+ rating with the BBB, the Bureau of Better Businesses, and thousands of happy customers. Protect your IRA or 401k. Go to birchgold.com/rumble to get your free info kit on gold today. And that is how Rumble Advertiser Center works. Hold on, I'm going to let the dog back in here. Ow. Oi. Very, very, very annoying. Okay. Oh, yeah. You know what's going to happen now? Let her back in the office, in my home studio. She's going to poop. Guaranteed, hashtag not a guarantee. All right, so everybody. Not a guarantee. She pooped outside already? Yeah, she pooped out there. All right, at least she pooped out of the... Pudge is the paralyzed... Pudge, come here. If I know you're pooping. Get over here. Oi. All right. For those of you who are new to the channel and have not met Pudge, this is Pudge, the paralyzed puggle. She got a slip disc and paralyzed her back legs 8.5 years ago. We've had her. We took her over when she got paralyzed. And like, there's things that you can do to like stimulate movement. Yeah, you see, like if you push in between the toes, you see how she pushes back? Look at this. So you get your finger in there. There you go. You see that? So this is how you stimulate movement. Sometimes it's like this. There's like a little nerve in the toe. You get some movement back, but after 8 years of paralysis, her muscle is atrophied, and so she doesn't really have much muscle. Okay. With that said, everybody, come on over to Rumble, where the rest of this party shall be taken, because there's still some fun stuff to talk about. And or you can come on over to Locals. Here, this is Rumble. Okay, I think someone's joking. They said you shouldn't be helping that dog. That's un-American. I actually did have someone on the street say, "Why didn't you put that dog to sleep? She's suffering." I was like, "What do you want me to do? You want me to?" First of all, I took her because the person who had her, God bless her soul, was not able to take care of a paralyzed dog, and not everybody can live in a world of shit and piss. We have no carpet, so it's not really a big deal. Pisses and you wipe it up. But I actually had someone on the street say, she was a French Canadian lady up in Montreal, and she's like, T'aurais-tu faire utiliser ce chien? It's like, you should have euthanized it. I was like, why would I euthanize? The dog is very happy. She gets a lot of pleasure out of eating. She gets a lot of pleasure out of sitting outside in the back Florida sun. Since we moved down here, she's gotten younger. I just say, I don't know when she's gonna. I'll be very sad when she passes on. I just asked the question. She's 14 and a half now. I mean, we've had her for a long time. Okay, so we're going to end this on Rumble, and we're going to end this on YouTube and Twitter, and bring the party on over to Rumble and Locals. And then afterwards, we're going to end it on Rumble and have our Locals after.